He's probably super relaxed. He's able to be a leader to these younger guys and really be able to, like we talked about earlier, be able to establish the chemistry that they need to be able to get out really quickly and get this team rolling to a victory.
He's on the Davey O'Brien Award watch list, of course, and he's on the Heisman Trophy watch list. I think especially with some of the things he did to, quote-unquote, save the college football season in the offseason, really got him a lot of attention, and obviously what he does on the field is absolutely incredible. Had a great year last year. Only has one loss as a college football quarterback. I expect that win column to continue to rise for him today, and he's looking sharp and ready to go.
Yeah, he's a new man. Also, he's an engaged man.
That's right.
I don't know if people follow him on social media or whatever, but he got engaged not too long ago. So maybe that having the right woman in his life, nailing her down, he might be even better than before. I'd like to think.
And, of course, whenever you talk about Trevor, you got to talk about Travis as well on the Maxwell Award Player of the Year watch list. Travis Etienne putting up some incredible statistics. It was mentioned in the interview between Dabo and Tim, but he scored a touchdown now in 37 college football games. The all-time FBS record is 38. So he can now tie that record, and it's held by two players. One of those is Tim Tebow. Every single week when you look at the notes and everything preparing for the game, it's just a record after record that Travis Etienne could continue to take down.
Yeah, and we also heard from Coach Sweeney in that interview that he's very likely going to get the opportunity to at least match that record, but I'm going to guess surpass it today as well. So I look forward to seeing him celebrate in the end zone and hearing that announcement be made about him passing that record.
Yeah, that would be good. He's only 2 points as well behind Greg Hugel to take the second all-time place on the Clemson scoring list. He has 18 100-yard rushing games now, which is already a Clemson record. He can add to that today to get to 19. So it's always good to see Trevor and Travis together, and they're amped up and ready to play, man. This is the part of the game, and everybody looks so calm down on the field. I feel like if I was a player, which I was not. I know that doesn't surprise anybody. But if I was a player, I think I would be like super amped right now to get ready for the ball game.
Yeah, that gives us a glimpse going down, looking at what warm-ups look like, about what we can expect from today's game. One thing these guys are going to have to do today is play assignment football.
That's right.
They're playing this team that plays the option, and they're going to have to stuff the run. They're going to have to put a stop to it to be able to keep the time on the clock, right? Because the Citadel wants to come in, they want to run 3 yards, keep that clock rolling. We've got to force Brandon Rainey into the air. We've got to put that pressure on their wide receivers to make a play in the air instead of just running the football. And so being able to watch warm-ups, see how these guys are reacting, I think our defense is going to be ready to set that edge, to put that pressure on him, and hopefully be able to see a lot of touchdowns on our end of the ball.
And there's one of the defensive stalwarts on the team, Jamie Skalski. He had to sit out the first half of last week's game because of that, I'll call, questionable targeting call against LSU in the national championship game. He's on the Budkist Award watch list, and maybe the leader of this defense. I mean, when you've got a senior linebacker like Jamie Skalski coming out there, he's seen offenses like this before, and he's one of the leaders of what's a pretty young defense this year.
Yeah, and I think leadership plays a really big role in games like this. We need our senior leadership to step up, be able to be coaches on the field, and guide these young players as they're going to be able to get their first opportunities to play for some of them. And many guys are going to be put in a big situation. We talked about defensive end Miles Murphy earlier on the Tiger Tailgate show. It's going to be really important for senior leadership to take those notes from Coach Sweeney and apply it to those younger guys today on the field.
And there is Coach Sweeney. I love the white and orange half and half shirts.
Yeah.
I've got a golf shirt
He's
like that.
He's looking sharp.
Yeah, I need to get that one and add to my gear list. And he looks loose and ready to go. Super excited. Looks like he's catching up with Brandon Streeter there as well, trying to get his team ready for today. And the band's in a little bit different place this year, but they're going to be just as loud as always, and it's kind of be cool. They're going to be on the hill, and the players will be running down right through the middle of the band later on here this afternoon.
Talk about the band that shakes the Southland. I mean, these players are going to get a really different look at having the band, the cheerleaders, the rally cats all there on the hill. When I was a cheerleader, we talked earlier about when they're normally on the field, and here comes Coach Sweeney running his 4 flat in between it. That's not going to be happening today. And with the band being on the hill, that means that our fans, our students, are not sitting on the hill. They're actually in the upper deck. They've got their own entrance. They've got their own bathrooms. They have their own concession stands. So there's going to be a lot of chance for our students to be able to practice social distancing and be safe today with their separate entrance. But it will be a little bit different for our guys running down the hill, having all of that action right there with the Tiger Band.
And about 19,000 fans, plus a few, expected in Memorial Stadium today. Shot of the cheerleaders there. You miss it, Daja? It's not too long ago you were right out there on the field as a Clemson cheerleader.
No, it wasn't that long ago. I'm just jealous that it's not, 95-degree weather in September and they're down there. I mean, it's a really cool breeze. We got maybe about 9-10 per hour winds today. Really cool, perfect fall September football. So I'm a little bit jealous of that.
And you saw some fans up there sitting in little different areas and pods. You've got 2, 4, and 6 seats. And there's a good buddy of ours, Mr. CJ Spiller, who joined the staff as a running backs coach this year. You talk about the records that Travis Etienne has. Whichever ones Travis doesn't have, that guy right there has.
Absolutely. We miss having him on the show with us. But, man, what an opportunity for our Tigers to have his leadership, his experience be a part of their coaching staff this year. And I'm really excited to watch his transformation from player to coach and see what he'll be able to do as a part of our coaching staff.
C.J. Spiller was on the Tiger Tailgate show on the Clemson Tigers Network last year, and he and Travis are pretty good friends. I mean, they were, C.J. Gave counsel, I guess, to Travis when he was deciding to come back as a senior, and I think that's really neat. And the fact that those guys can both be together is a really cool thing. And another cool thing here, man, you can hear the crowd cheering all the way over here.
Special moment, absolutely. We're looking live at the Walk of Champions. This is where they always go and link arms. They gather together and take that walk, and that's probably one of the favorite traditions of so many former Tigers and these guys who are active now as well. I know my former Tiger always talked about how he was actually right beside Coach Sweeney in the Walk of Champions. They pretty much go to the same spots every single time, and he was right there, I believe, on his right arm during the Walk of Champions. So, man, what a special tradition that has become.
I knew that the pregame was organized, but I didn't realize that you had a specific spot in the Walk of Champions.
I think it just becomes that way. They become men of repetition, right? That's the name of this game, repetition. And so I think it just becomes over time, wherever you go, that's where you end up going week to week. And, even if it's not truly assigned seats, you got an assigned seat.
Yeah, that's really good. So we're getting a little bit closer to kickoff. And, again, you're hanging out with myself, Mark Childress, Daja Davidson here on Death Valley Live. We'll be doing this for all the home games this year. And if you redshirted your tickets this year, maybe there's a week that you can't make it, you can still participate, see what's going on inside the stadium. We got some cool interviews and other stuff as well.
Yeah, we're really excited. The atmosphere is a little bit different, but traffic has picked up. We talked with Trooper Joe Hovis earlier, and he was talking about the travel in being tranquil. I never thought that I would hear that be a word that he would use to describe the traffic situation here for a home game, but we've got a nice crowd of folks here. People are doing a little bit of tailgating, not as much. We know that we are kind of discouraging people to do that, but those who are doing it in small pods, they're doing it really safely. Look at here, we're looking at defensive coordinator Coach Brent Venables, always incredibly animated.
Yes, he's ready. No get-back coach in the pregame, as far as I know. They'll have that for the regular game, but Coach Venables continues to put one of the best defenses in the country on the field season after season. A very different look in this year's defense than last year, but he's made great adjustments, and he did a good job against Wake Forest. All right, we're going to go and check in with the voice of the Clemson Tigers, Mr. Don Munson. He got to catch up with Clemson's athletic director, Dan Radakovich, earlier this week. Take it away, Don.
All right, so here with our athletic director, Dan Radakovich. First and foremost, good to be back in Death Valley. Good to have a home opener here in 2020.
Don, there were times during this past summer where I didn't know if we were going to say that, but yes, incredibly excited, and really just want to say thank you to all the people who've gotten us to this point. We've done a lot of work with the state of South Carolina to allow us to have fans here inside the stadium. Our friends at AECOM, which helped us with ingress, egress, sanitization procedures, how the seats are laid out inside Memorial Stadium, but also the incredible help of our athletic department staff and student friends that we had over the last 10 days or so, putting the seats up in Death Valley. That's not an easy chore. They just didn't appear overnight. So hopefully that's going to help the folks who are in the stadium, A, know where they need to sit, B, stay in those areas because they are socially distant, and just have a great afternoon here in Memorial Stadium because there was a lot of times during the year where we were not quite sure that was going to happen, but really happy to be playing this afternoon.
You know, Dan, when you just go back and listen to what you just said, and I've obviously been around here, so I've been watching it. Just the sheer man hours, woman hours that have gone into this have just been incredible.
Well, no doubt about that. It goes beyond what I just mentioned. Inside the stadium and what we're doing from a fan safety perspective. Wear the mask signs. How people are queuing up for concessions or restrooms or coming into the stadium. It goes into the healthcare side of things for our student athletes and the work of our doctors and trainers and our administrative staff. That really started in June to make sure that our student athletes are safe and healthy, and we're following all of the protocols that came forward from the ACC Medical Advisory Group. So tip of the cap to all of those folks who've helped us get to this point. And then our fans, for sure. Our IPTE donors who have stayed with us, who've allowed us, in many cases, to keep their donation, even though we had to move down the number of tickets that they were able to receive because of the restrictions we have on capacity. It's really we're really thankful, not only from Davis Babb and the IPTE perspective, but all of us in athletics really thankful because this is a challenging year. From a financial perspective, but we're going to get through it because we've got the great people from Clemson and our fans who are with us and want our program to move on from here and continue to be a very, very competitive program both on and off the field.
Maybe the other thing that we should talk about is because Clemson is the top town gown relationship between town and university in the country, but even it reaches just beyond our campus borders now into the city of Clemson itself and the outlying areas. I mean, this is a big day for everybody. And I realize we're not back to normal capacity, but at least a little bit of normalcy, if you want to use it as that term.
Well, the city government, Mayor J.C. Cook, all of the people in the city of Clemson have been really, really good, to bounce different ideas off of, to be able to talk through various things that we were looking to do here on campus. You can't separate the city of Clemson and Clemson University. It just melds together. They're separated by a sidewalk. So it's really important for us to maintain great relationships with them and the police department, their city government, and hopefully we hold up our end of the bargain because they've been incredibly good partners with us.
And I guess finally also a thanks to the Citadel. I mean, just setting this game up as an out-of-conference game was a chore in and of itself.
It was. I mean, we were first looking at Akron because we had that contract with Akron University. Then the MAC decided that they weren't going to play. Next up on the agenda, we had South Carolina, and of course the SEC is not allowing out-of-conference games, and we had Notre Dame, which moved into the ACC. So we will have them later. So our lone remaining out-of-conference game was the Citadel. And had they said no, we would have been on the hunt for another out-of-conference foe to play today. But, again, thanks to the Citadel, their athletic administration, their coaching staff, their student athletes for following the ACC medical protocol, which they had to start doing on September the 7th to be able to play here come the 19th.
Well, sit back and enjoy the day. If you can do that, take a deep breath and enjoy the day, okay?
Well, I will. And just one final thing for the fan base. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for following the myriad of rules and changes to the game day experience. I know that's going to be a little bit different, but once the whistle blows and the Tigers are on the field, it's going to seem like home.
All right, there you go. Our athletic director, Dan Radakovich, and Mark and Daja, back to you.
Yeah, thanks so much, Don. And Dan Radakovich is thanking us. I think we need to be thanking Dan and everybody here at Clemson for all of the work that has gone into pulling today off.
Absolutely. You know, he talked about it in that interview. It takes so many moving parts. There's so many different sections of both the city, the campus, the administration, the coaching staff who have to make all of this happen here today, or we would not be here today. And of course, the man who leads it all, you can see him there, his enthusiasm for this team, his enthusiasm for these young men. It goes beyond what they do on this field. Coach Dabo Sweeney, a leader like no other, who sets the example for what these young men need to be now and in the future.
And one of the things I forgot about a little bit was all of the scheduling theatrics that we had to go through here, right? Because you had Citadel on the schedule later in the season. He was talking about Akron, and now the Citadel's in. No Palmetto Bowl this year. Just so much, and it just changed week to week again and again. And all the adapting that not just Dabo's had to do with this program, but the folks in the athletic department. Truly an incredible performance.
Absolutely, absolutely.
So, hey, it looks like we are going to have a special guest joining us here in just a minute from the ACC Network. Dabo's so fired up, man. I love watching him as he's going around and getting everybody fired up. But before we get to our special guest, let's look at some NFL results this past weekend. This is one of the best things, Daja, over the last few years that has changed that I love. It's I can sit down on Sunday and you're really hard-pressed to find an NFL football game without not just one Clemson player in it. Usually there's two, sometimes there's 5 or 6.
Absolutely, absolutely. And our Tigers had a great showing over here. You can see Christian Wilkins. He had 1 sack, 6 tackles, 2 tackles for loss. Another Clemson favorite and legend, Sammy Watkins, had 7 receptions for 82 yards and 1 touchdown. That is, you know, of course, a Super Bowl champion right there. You also had Nuke DeAndre Hopkins, 14 receptions for 151 yards. Absolutely lights out game. Dexter Lawrence, 1 sack, 4 tackles, and 1 tackle for loss. And then none other right down the road is Mr. Grady Jarrett with the Atlanta Falcons, 1.5 sacks, 4 tackles, and 1 tackles for loss. These Clemson players are showing up in the NFL. Not only showing up, they're showing out.
They really are. And Nuke Hopkins, of course, has made the transition to the Arizona Cardinals, so it was his first game with a new team and a very memorable one. Dexter Lawrence kind of got into it a little bit with Cam Newton. I think they exchanged some pleasantries over the course of that ball game.
Nice way to put it.
Yeah, Cam got the best of him this time, but all good. All right, we've got a special guest from the ACC Network calling in. Let's welcome, you know him from Packer and Durham, which runs 8 to 10 a.m. Eastern on the ACC Network every day. It's Mr. Mark Packer. Mark, how you doing?
Mark, Daja, good afternoon. Thank goodness it's college football season. We can finally put our feet up and watch the Tigers, and looking forward to the home opener.
Absolutely.
So, Mark, we've been showing a lot of what's been going on inside the stadium as we prepare for the ball game today. What's your favorite part of that hour leading up to the game?
Normally, it's a cocktail and my 15th piece of chicken. But given the pandemic, it's a whole different universe, right? I mean, we're all just trying to figure this thing out. But I think really the most important thing right now is that we get a chance to watch the game. And we've been harping on this on our show, and I'm sure you folks have too, that the effort by the student athletes, coaches, administrators, staff, commissioners, ADs, just for these guys to have a chance to play has been nothing short of remarkable. And when you get stories this week of like Charlotte, North Carolina not playing, Houston and Baylor not playing, guys being out because they've tested COVID, the whole tracing scenario. I mean, it is unbelievable that we can just have games. So, while all of us as fans are enjoying the tailgating and getting ready for kickoff and all that stuff, let's really admire the effort that's been made by these young guys that said, hey, listen, we want to play, and they got a chance to showcase their great skills.
This game will be showed on the ACC Network here shortly in maybe just about 20 or so minutes. Mark, what is the cooperation and kind of have things look like for you guys over at the ACC Network as you guys have tried to manage this pandemic? You made mention to it. How does the coordination look like for you guys?
Well, it's different, right? I mean, you go to Death Valley, you expect 83,000. Today there'll be 19,000. And you know what? And that's fortunate. In the state of North Carolina, it's nobody. So, the states are operating at a different rate. The schools are operating at different rates, too. So, from a broadcasting perspective, a lot of these guys doing play-by-play. My partner Wes Durham's doing the game today with Georgia State and Louisiana, but a lot of guys are doing the play-by-play from home. They're sitting down in the basement like I normally am every morning on ACC Network. So it's a totally, completely different universe. And, you start talking about no tailgating for the most part at a lot of these locations. Some folks have people to stand, some don't. It's just totally different. But the one thing we've talked about when everything went down in the middle of March is you're just going to have to be flexible. And that's true whether you're a player, a coach, a broadcaster, a fan, whatever the case may be. And like I said, you can't worry about, hey, we got a big game coming up in 3 weeks. You got to worry about the fact that, hey, guess what? We get a game today. So let's absorb it, take it all in. And again, like I said, appreciate everything you get a chance to involve yourself.
Mr. Mark Packer, you can catch him every Monday through Friday on the ACC Network on Packer and Durham. Mark, thanks so much for taking the time out of your Saturday to hang out with us a little bit here on Death Valley Live.
Mark, Triple D, you guys have fun, and again, enjoy the ball game because there's no guarantee we get it next week, but we're definitely going to get it this afternoon.
You got that right, Mark. Thank you so much. All right, let's check. All right, you guys, let's check in with our Clemson Tigers Network radio team. They've got some keys to the game today presented by Carolina Ford Dealers.
All right, thanks, guys. Certainly appreciate that. All right, fellas, let's talk a little bit about some keys for this ball game here this afternoon. Obviously, Tim, it's like, hello, old friend. All of a sudden, the option is back. We thought we'd gotten rid of it when Georgia Tech changed coaches, but here it is back again.
Well, that, of course, is one of the advantages for Clemson in this game is because they've had to face what Georgia Tech did for so many years. So there's still a lot of guys on the roster that are familiar with the basic concepts that are needed, the disciplinary concepts that are needed to defend it. And Brent Venables' team's probably, in the last 5 years of Paul Johnson's career, the Tigers did as good a job as anybody against it.
Reggie, what was interesting to me, at least coming out of the Wake Forest game, was that all the talk wasn't about freshmen that were on the offensive side of the ball, which we are so used to seeing, but all the talk was about the youngsters that were on the defensive side of the ball, the way that Miles Murphy played, the way that Brian Bresee played.
Yeah, and Venables has been talking about that the entire offseason, about how they recruited these guys and how they were going to be such game changers as freshmen coming in. And so obviously they showed their true colors, especially Bresee being able to take on the double team and been able to get his first sack and his first start in just a couple plays. So, I mean, the future is bright for this defensive line. And like I said, again, they have recruited well and they've coached these guys up, and they seem to be being very fruitful.
How about the two freshman running back, Reg, that we saw? Obviously, DeMarcus Bowman, who came in, Kobe Pace. We saw them both. Each of them got equal carries. They both got 6 carries. Did you like what you saw?
Well, I tell you what, I would have liked to see them get more carries. But again, with such a talented quarterback and such a talented wide receiver group, there's only one football to go around. So those carries are going to be very sparing the next, few games. But I tell you what, man, I was excited to see those guys and what they can do. And obviously, again, and not only what they can do with the football, but without the football, but in the pass pro and being able to protect Trevor or DJ, whoever's in the game at that time.
Tim, certainly, we traveled with 80 players last week, played 78 of them. We're going to play a ton of players here today. That's a good thing. The fact that because there's a lot of people both sides of the football that need to gain some valuable in-game experience.
Yeah, there's been 2 games in Clemson history, at least that 100 players have participated in a game. Both of them took place last year. 111 against Charlotte and 105, I think it was, against Wofford. But this year, more than any, it's probably important to have guys get experience because you don't know who is going to be playing from one week to another in the pandemic times that we're in. So it's very important to get guys some action, and certainly that's going to be the plan this weekend.
All right, Mark and Dodger, there's our thoughts. Back to you.
Thanks, as always, Mr. Munson, the best radio crew in the business for my money on the Clemson Tigers Network. Keys to the game, of course, brought to you by Ford, the Carolina Ford Dealers. and always great to hear from those guys, and they do a fantastic job. They'll be back in the booth this week. They had to call the road game from here at Clemson last week, which was a big adjustment, but they did a great job with it.
Yeah, it's different for them. Don talked about that earlier, but nothing like having him up in the booth making play-by-play calls.
Yeah, and they talked about Brian Bresee a little bit in that interview. What a playmaker he was last week, along with the other freshman, Miles Murphy. Let's see what Brian Bresee had to say about his first college appearance.
Do dirty work like Robin. Crack rock, Rolex, diamonds.
I mean, it was super exciting being out on the field for the first time. I'm just always dreaming about playing college football and it finally being here, and my whole family get to see it happen. It's awesome. You get to college and everyone's big and strong and fast, so it was definitely helpful to come in the spring and get those extra couple of months before the season started to learn everything. Yeah, I would describe my playing style as getting off the ball fast whenever I'm able to make tackles, just being super physical. This week, what I was thinking was really, I got off the ball as fast as I could, and I threw in a long arm to kind of see what the other lineman was going to do. I felt him overset, and when I felt him overset and get in front of me, I was at the quarterback's depth. So I was able to whip escape back in and was right in the quarterback's lap and had to reach out for him and kind of swung behind him. And I had some help from Balin and Jake Venables coming in and finishing the playoffs. So our first goal was win the opener, and we've done that now. So the next biggest game is the Citadel. So we're excited to do that. Just treat every game like it's our last.
Brian Bresee, a freshman, looking like a senior both in his play, and look how poised he was for that interview. I mean, they're going over there. Hey, you've just been here for a week. Can we do a nice little interview with you real quick? That was great.
Absolutely. And I love him talking about his physicality, and what he's going to be able to do today is be physical, dominate on his side. And you're right, he doesn't look like a freshman. I love seeing him look like he's playing like a senior on this team. All right, you guys, thank you again to our radio crew who we saw just a few minutes ago. Now let's take a look and see what else is happening around the ACC today, presented by Roto-Rooter. We've got Boston College versus Duke. You've got Boston College up 26 to Duke, who has 6. It's in the fourth quarter there. Notre Dame, UCF. That's the final, there. We've got Notre Dame, UCF. Notre Dame's up 7. It's the first quarter there. We've got Georgia Tech, UCF. We talked about them earlier. Not looking good for me, as UCF was my pick. We've got Georgia Tech up 7. Miami versus Louisville doesn't kick off until 7:30 tonight. Wake Forest versus NC State kicks off at 8 p.m. And then we've got Pitt, Syracuse. Pitt finished that one 21-10. So there we go, around the ACC.
Yeah, Pitt holding serve against Syracuse, which was interesting. Boston College all over Duke. Of course,
Yeah.
Chase Bryce, who was here at Clemson, had his hands full with Notre Dame last week. I really thought Duke might bounce back and get a good one there, but coming up with the loss again. All right, looking back in at Memorial Stadium now. Tiger Band's getting Death Valley ready to go, and we're taking a peek at their live pregame performance. That means we're getting close to kickoff.
All right, guys, if you're just now joining us, you are watching Death Valley Live. I'm Daja Davidson, Mark Childress. You are watching Death Valley Live presented by Wells Fargo. Wells Fargo bringing you closer to the Clemson Tiger action than ever before.
And it's been great, Daja. I mean, the goal of this show is to be able to take you inside of the stadium. Beautiful stadium right here behind us on this awesome set. And let you be a part of pregame. I mean, people have a red shirt this year. There's other people that made choices to not be able to come. Or maybe those choices were made for you for other reasons. But it's really great to be able to get a peek inside the stadium and to share it with all the fans that couldn't be here.
Yeah, and on the 87th birthday of Memorial Stadium, we're going to take a look at inside the program. Last week against Wake Forest, BT Potter hit a 52-yard field goal, stretching the Tigers' lead 27-0. This week on Founders Inside the Program, we are going to take a look at the physics behind his kick. Let's check it out.
It looks like this will be a 53-yarder. He hit it. On the way, and it is gone. That has plenty of leg. That would have been good for about 70.
Mina, what are your thoughts on this?
What we have here is a projectile motion problem, something commonly found in introductory physics. We're going to make two assumptions that are commonly used in problems like this. The first one is that because we were in a stadium with no fans and it felt like a vacuum, we're going to treat this scenario as a vacuum and we're going to take wind and air resistance out of the equation. Second thing we're going to do is we're going to assume that the ball landed at the same elevation level as it took off from. We know that the ball traveled at least 52 yards to clear the crossbar, and watching the video again, we're going to estimate it went another 20 yards before it landed. From that video, we also know that the ball was in the air for 3.42 seconds. We're going to use a couple of kinematic equations to calculate how far that ball would have traveled and still been made. Our final velocity, specifically in the y direction, is going to be equal to our initial velocity plus the acceleration times time. Now we want to know what our initial vertical velocity is. So to do this, we're going to say, okay, the ball took off at a 0 point. We're going to say that negative VO is equal to acceleration times time. Now we know acceleration is negative 9.81 meters per second squared, which is our gravitational constant. And we know that our time is half the total time the ball was in the air, which is going to be 1.71 seconds. Vertical velocity at the beginning was 16.8 meters per second. We're going to use that in another equation to calculate how high the ball reached. So we know that our vertical displacement is going to be equal to our velocity times time plus 1/2 acceleration times time squared. We know our acceleration, we know our time, and we know our vertical velocity. So we can calculate that the vertical displacement of the ball at its highest point was 141 feet. We also know that the ball will reach its highest point halfway through its horizontal trajectory. So the ball has traveled 108 feet when it's at its highest point in the horizontal direction. So we're going to use the proportion of 141 feet divided by 108 feet. It's equal to 10 feet divided by x. And when we solve for x, we get 8 feet. We subtract that from the total horizontal displacement we've estimated to be 216 feet. We get 208 feet. 208 feet is equal to 69 yards. So in conclusion, BT could have kicked that ball through the uprights from 69 yards out. Okay.
Great stuff as always. Hey, if you didn't know, this year is the 125th year of Clemson football presented by Lending Tree, and we're honoring that in a lot of special ways. One of those ways you can be a part of is our fan voting. Clemson staff has put together a list of over 300 legendary players throughout the history of Clemson football, and it's your job to vote on the top 125 in honor of this year's anniversary. In addition to this, you can also vote for the top 10 games in Clemson history. Head on over to clemsontigers.com/125season. And speaking of Clemson history, all right, let's play some trivia here for you, Daja.
I'm not good at trivia, but I'll try.
All right, this is brought to you by First Citizens. And what year did Clemson play its first game in Memorial Stadium?
I'm just going to pick a random one here. 1942.
Hey, you got it.
I cheated, okay?
Okay, you shouldn't have come to it.
I know. I was there, but,
Yeah.
I was just a thought, really. Clemson played its first game in Memorial Stadium on this date in 1942. The Tigers opened the stadium with a 32-13 win over Presbyterian in front of 5,500 fans. 5,500, 19,000. Pretty close. Butch Butler led the Tigers 192 yards rushing, the most by a Clemson player in the 1940s. So, happy birthday, Memorial Stadium.
Yeah, it's awesome. 78th birthday today. Really good stuff. And I read from Tim Beret some stuff he put out this week that they finished the stadium about an hour before kickoff. That they were literally putting up the signs for the gates as people were walking into the stadium, and then they kicked the football game off an hour later. And some great stuff there. And what an incredible stadium. They continue to add to the facilities. I can't imagine they even ever conceived of an Oculus back in 1942 when they were putting this together. But this is still, for my money, the best stadium in the country.
You don't have anything but a yes from me on that one, absolutely.
No doubt. Well, we're about to get the pregame traditions going underway, and this is what I've been excited about for Death Valley Live since the start, right? For the folks that can't be here today, we're going to follow the players from the buses all the way around the stadium. There are, I think, a couple of extra buses I heard this year. They're socially distancing the players out a little bit, so they're going to tweak it a little going into the stadium. We talked earlier that the band is going to be on the hill instead of fans, so it's going to feel a little bit different, Daja, but it's the best pregame tradition in the country, and it will continue today.
Absolutely, yeah. Those traditions looking a little bit different. We even talked about Tiger Walk looking a little different, the orange carpet rolled out, but still the best 25 seconds in college football.
Yeah, it really is. So the band's out there, and Daja, you were a cheerleader at Clemson. The duties for the cheerleaders will be a little less today as part of the pregame, but you had to be hyped to be part of that every week.
Oh, absolutely, yeah. And I saw a couple of them coming around. They're practicing in Little John earlier before they go down on the field to the hill. They're down there now. We got to see that a little bit earlier. But, you know, nothing like putting on that uniform, nothing like cheering for this Tiger team. It's a little bit different for everyone involved, but, you know, it's still the best team to cheer for in college football.
It is, and I have a little cheat over you because I can see the players over there over your shoulder, and they're getting onto the buses now. So we're about a minute away from getting, again, the best pregame tradition in the country underway. Clemson Tigers, of course, will be taking on the Citadel today. That game is on the ACC network. If you want to watch it, if you want to listen to the radio crew on the Clemson Tigers network, you know how to dial it up that way. Daja, you and I are coming back at halftime. Man, this has been a blast, number one.
Absolutely.
But we'll be coming back at halftime so you can see the band performance. We'll have stats, maybe even some highlights from the first half. And again, this is something that we'll be doing every game this season at home. Death Valley Live will allow you guys to be a part of it, even if you can't be here.
Yeah, and you talk about the traditions, you know, riding the buses around to the east side of the stadium and rubbing the rock and running down the hill. I always have wanted to be on one of those buses, right? To feel that energy. I'm sure you could just cut it with a knife. I'm sure some guys are probably in such a zone, and we talked to CJ Spiller about that last year when he was a host on the Tiger Tailgate Show, about what it's like to lead up to that. And here we go as they're coming around. Let's do this.
If you are lucky enough to ever witness this, you will not forget it. Perhaps the grandest entrance in sports. Brought from Death Valley, California, placed atop that hill by Coach Frank. To get off the bus, enter Death Valley, and approach this rock, it's emotional. The intensity of the moment is very real.
Player touches Howard's rock for good luck.
Touched by the Tigers for exactly 50 years. The Tigers are at the rock for about the most exciting 25 seconds in college football. Most exciting 25 seconds in college football.
It's not going to give 110% to keep their filthy hands off my rock.
New entrance video with a new season. I have goosebumps.
Ooh,
Unbelievable
I mean,
work.
if you didn't get hype off that, I'm not really sure what you're doing with your life, because that was absolutely incredible. We're taking a look now at our Coca-Cola bus cam. You see those buses leaving the West End Zone, making their way around to the rock. We just talked about it, the intensity that's on this bus. You heard it in the hype video, Coach Sweeney talking about these guys are ready for this moment, right? This is what they love, this ride around. It's really quiet probably on those buses, but the intensity in all of their hearts is screaming very loud.
It is, and stadium, I'm sure, on their feet at this point. And again, the crowd's a little bit smaller today. Hello, Mr. Tiger. He's getting excited for it. Crowd a little bit smaller today, a little bit over 19,000, but it's going to be very loud in Death Valley. We can hear it from here, so the crowd is really getting into it. Lots of excitement going down.
Well, we know one thing for sure is our Tigers love good music, right?
Yes.
We saw that a little bit earlier in some of the videos, and especially in that hype video. They've got a soundtrack and a playlist like none other that keeps them hyped. So, we've got 19,000 to help, and you see it there. Coach Sweeney and the players arriving at the top of the hill, rubbing Howard's Rock. They are getting ready any moment now to run down this hill. 25 most exciting seconds in college football.
Great stuff here. Dabo and the team getting ready to go. Just moments away now from kickoff between Clemson and the Citadel. Tigers looking to protect their #1 ranking in the country and go to 2-0 on the season. They've got a bye week next week. So a road game and then a home game and then a bye week. So I think the schedule's laid out well for the Tigers as they're getting ready to run down the hill. Daja, a lot of freshmen for the first time getting to participate in, again, the best pregame in the country. Got to be very, very excited for kickoff here coming in just a couple of minutes, but also to be a part of this.
Absolutely, yeah. It's going to be a really exciting football game today. Excited to see those guys run down the hill, an incredible Clemson tradition.
So listen, turn your television over to the ACC network. If you're not there already, tune your radio to the Clemson Tigers network. We'll be back here at halftime for Death Valley Live. Come back and hang out with us for the band performance. We'll have highlights from the first half, stats and stuff like that. For Daja Davidson, I am Mark Childress. This is the first Death Valley Live. I've had a good time with this one, Daja. I enjoyed hanging out with you a little bit on this.
Absolutely.
We will see you
at
halftime,
folks.